Good evening, Des Moines. Welcome to the Doc and Lefty program here on WebcastOneLive.com, coming to you from downtown on the Skywalk in the WebcastOneLive.com studios. I am Lefty, as always, bringing the politics and more from both sides of the fence. And sitting across the table with me is my co-host, my cohort in all things punditry. He's one step away from calling Russian dressing freedom dressing. It's Doc Petrosh. Doc, what's up?
Nothing much. I used to say just my weight, not my IQ, but
they're both down.
They are both down. Hey, Lefty, you know how many liberal minds fit on the head of a pin?
I have no idea.
All of them.
Oh man,
there you go.
That's a pretty good one.
I should have a pal.
That's a pretty good one.
Frank's let me down every time. It's like he's asleep at the wheel.
I paid him. I slipped him an extra 20 before we started the show. Just to keep the pals, because you've been texting me.
That's how cheap you're going now, Frank.
Hey, $20 $20 is. I mean, if you want me to, or have him cut my mic off, that's a little bit more. But anyway,
I will tell you. That's typical because he's a college student and poor, and you're a liberal, and that's as much money as you're ever going to give anybody.
That's
your own.
Not only that, but I'm a liberal attorney, so whatever money that I give out is taken from people forcibly by a judge and the sheriff. It's a really sick system. But no, you're geared up today. You told me you've been texting me all weekend. You've been fired up all day on Facebook.
Have you seen some of the things I've been locked into on Facebook today?
I have, and so I'm ready to. We don't have a guest today, folks, because basically Doc called me. I don't know, probably late Friday. He was furious with me, first of all, for missing the blog deadline. And if you want to catch what we're going to talk about the crisis in Ukraine and Crimea today. We're going to talk about Terry Branstad and the new. I'm going to call it a mini scandal, but it could get worse depending on how about the information, because he revealed that there were more agencies. I think he revealed it today or yesterday. More agencies are involved in this thing. We're going to talk about AJ Spiker leaving or quitting the GOP. The GOP. Well, at least the leadership, and there are just a lot of doings going on. But we decided we're going to finally do the responsible thing and put some original content for the website and become a real bona fide internet phenomenon that we've always known that we were in our own minds.
That's true.
And so Doc put a deadline of Lefty, get your piece to our marketing person by Friday night so that she could put it on the website, and we'll go from there. And I said, I will absolutely do it for you. And I think I emailed it to her Sunday at around 10:30 or so. Yeah. And so all weekend I was getting emails and texts and phone calls from Doc saying, you know what, I'm going to blast you on the air because first of all, you're wrong in all the issues. Second of all, you're irresponsible, and we just can't have that. So Doc, we're going to get into all these issues, but fire away. Let me have it.
Well, I will tell you now the truth of the matter. I need to mention something very briefly. My dad's very ill. He's in the hospital, and last I knew, he's in the ICU. But knowing how he has gone out of his way to watch the show every single week, I hope, Dad, you're listening, and I hope you can hear me. I hope you get to feeling better soon. Second thing is since Lefty didn't get this thing posted until about 3 minutes before showtime, I haven't been able to read it. But I love the title of it, From Crimea with Love, How the Right Learned to Stop Warning and Love the Putin. That is classic. That's classic. I wish I'd been that clever. I did mine seriously.
You did. Yours was a lot more serious than mine. Mine, while I think that the thesis is fairly sound in my piece, it was definitely a lot of tongue in cheek, and it was meant to be more of a, I don't know, what would you call it? A Gallic,
fun piece about world domination from the Russians.
A Gallic shrug, it's the French kind of ennui about the whole situation.
Well, here we go. We have our social media guru and webmaster extraordinary, and she prefers to be called by her real name, which is Jen. And Jen has done a wonderful job. And in fact, have you seen the little picture she has next to the?
Oh yeah, no, it's great.
Oh yeah, so
it's great.
Jen says we have close to 360 people that have visited the site in the last 2 weeks, week, day, year, last week. So that means we have 360 more people that may be watching the show.
Well, hey,
and that's
you know,
pretty good.
We appreciate all of you.
Yeah. So the first, well, let's do a brief rundown in Crimea. Things have settled down. Putin's still doing his war dance over there. He's still being, obstinate. They have kicked him out of the G8 for now, which is really a giant hit to their economy. It really reduces what he can do. Now, getting kicked out of a snobby club is something that you and I are both familiar with.
Yes.
And getting kicked out of a snobby club really doesn't change your life or what you're going to do. And so I'm going to say that. 2, Ukraine has ginormous oil and gas reserves. And 3, Angela Merkel said about a week and a half ago, if there's any further incursions into Ukraine, all options are on the table. In diplomatic speak, that means if we have to go nuclear, we're going to go nuclear. Now, I don't think that's going to happen. NATO today pretty much said anybody that's going to go, it has to be a unanimous decision that we all go. However, we will, form a coalition and go if that's what we decide to do. I don't think there's a lot of political will at this time. However, keep your eyes on the polls. The polls are getting geared to go. All right. Now I think from what I read from this article, NATO and EU is going to start sending weapons and bullets and beans and the rest of it to Ukraine. Now I'm going to tell you that's fine and dandy. Ukraine has 6,000 men under arms. That ain't going to stop the Russians. Number 2, the Ukrainian army is set up completely different than we're set up. In our army, it's the sergeants. The sergeants are the ones that run the army, and they're completely independent. Over there, the sergeants are much more like technicians. They're not really used to leading or commanding, and they really don't have the officer corps put together to be able to lead an army. So you're looking at an army that is at least 30 years behind. It stopped when the wall fell in 94. It might have been the wall fell in 92. And
the wall came down in 91. But
91. But the bottom line is that's how far behind they are. So giving them this advanced weaponry and technology is like giving a bunch of Boy Scouts that stuff.
Well, and they're behind the Russians in terms of their armament and the military capability. Obviously, they're using Soviet era weaponry, Soviet era tanks. They have tanks that I guess that were built in the 60s. The primary heavy armored division, but also just geographically, and you can speak to this. Ukraine is it's flatter. It's flatter than Iowa.
It is.
If they wanted, if the Russians wanted to roll tanks, they could roll them all the way to Kiev without a whole lot of resistance.
Well, one of the greatest battles of World War II, and the greatest tank battle of all time happened in Kursk, which is just across the border.
Yeah.
And, Ukraine sits in this nice flat valley between two mountain ranges. Anyway, that's your Ukraine update. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back right after these messages from our sponsors. You're listening to Doc and Lefty on WebcastOneLive.com, and we appreciate your listenership. Without our sponsors, we couldn't keep our doors open, and it is you, the listener, why we get excited about coming in here every week for this show.
And speaking of sponsors, didn't you have a new one to announce?
Well, we will. I will talk about it at the break here because we got to get everything organized. We'll be back right after this break.
Petrosian Associates, how can I help you?
Petrosh and Associates will provide you with a friendly, caring, and confidential place to find help for mental health concerns. We are ready for your call. Our doctor, Dr. J. Patrick Petrosh, provides a full range of psychiatric services for children, adolescents, and adults in a forthright and informative manner while maintaining a casual, comfortable, and relaxed atmosphere.
All across America, there are countless numbers of people struggling with addiction and other life-controlling issues. Probably someone you know and love. There is a way out. There is hope. Transformations Treatment Center in Delray Beach, Florida, has a unique approach to substance abuse treatment. Call now and ask about our Guaranteed Success program or log on to transformationstreatment.com. Transformations. Change your life. Change your relationships. Transform your world.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. It is the guest list Doc and Lefty. We're going to actually, you know what? I'm going to call it vintage. It's vintage Doc and Lefty today. It's just the two of us sitting across the table talking about the issues, talking about our different takes on the issues. Where the situation in Ukraine and Crimea has been just lightning fast for this entire month. It seems it was only yesterday, and it wasn't. It was it was actually a couple weeks ago at this point, that annexation was on the minds of everybody. President Putin in Russia signed the paperwork officially on Friday on the 21st and has started raiding Ukrainian bases in Crimea, kicking people out over the weekend, the last couple of days, consolidating power in Crimea. The West, like you said, has pretty much Crimea is Russia now.
Crimea has always been Russia, and not even the Ukrainians are fighting over it. So, there you go. And speaking of Putin-like grasping of powers, apparently you wanted to talk about Governor Branstad and some of the trouble he's been in.
Well, I was looking, I heard about this story, and I read about it when the Register released their piece about these, I believe it was 6 merit-based workers. Merit-based means that they're under contract and you can't just fire them for whatever reason, as opposed to an at-will worker, which you can fire. Like if I wanted, like Doc works at will for this particular partnership. If I wanted to fire him for doing his hair weird, I could fire him for doing his hair weird. But these are merit-based. Hair is
beautiful, by the way.
I know it. No, it is. You look good. No, but these are merit-based workers who have who filed grievances with the Iowa Employment Board, saying that they were fired by the governor for political reasons, and settlements were paid out for these 6. At least it was a little shy of $300,000, like right around $290,000, I believe, $290,000 to settle their cases, and then the settlement agreements contained confidentiality clauses to restrict them from speaking about the settlement and also the facts and the merits of their cases. Now, somebody might ask, most settlement agreements or don't most contracts include some sort of confidentiality agreement? Well, they do. A lot of them do. Most of them do, in fact. In fact, every settlement agreement that I put together, if it's a significant chunk of money, or there were a lot of different difficult facts involved, will contain some sort of confidentiality agreement, or at least a clause about not defaming the other party that's enforceable by law, and you can post damages to it and whatever you want. These, however, are problematic because it appears that they are contrary to law. Now, Iowa law says that all matters involving public employees, whether it be settlements, whether it be termination agreements, everything about the employment of a public employee is a public record. So these settlements would be public records, and that means that the grievances would be public records. That means the reasons why these people are accusing the administration of firing them would be public record. And the appearance is that, and I can't remember his name, but that the guy that was in charge or that was settling these cases was employing these settlement or these confidentiality clauses to keep these folks from talking about legitimate grievances in violation of Iowa law. And this goes, yes. and he was a Terry Branstad appointee, or he was hired by Terry Branstad, and it goes, and so that's why the link to the governor's office. Now, it's really hard for me to, first of all, the story is pretty new. At least the revelations are pretty new. I'm not going to be the one to jump all over Terry Branstad the way some of his critics have. Jack Hatch has kind of obviously kind of been jumping all over him, and some of the other Democrats in the Senate have been voicing their concerns about these things. But I don't think anybody would disagree that it looks a little weird. And it was today or yesterday that he came out and said there were 10 more agencies that are implicated in this, that there are more employees out there. And so far, his reason has been, look, this is a guy who worked in the private sector for 30 years, and these confidentiality clauses were just a part of the contracts he brought in. Well, yeah, that means that he wasn't trained very well, or that he wasn't prepared well enough to tell his staff not to do this. The Attorney General's office said, "Hey, we didn't do this. We weren't advised. Nobody asked us about it at all." And
didn't they say the confidentiality clauses were unenforceable?
Yeah, the Attorney General came out and said, regardless, and which kind of makes it even a little bit more strange, because they said, look, if they were to try and enforce these confidentiality clauses against these individuals, they're not enforceable, because they're against the code is very clear that these have to be open, and it looks like a secretive sort of administration, when Terry Branstad hasn't had that reputation as much. And
why do you think he's being secretive now?
Well, like I said, I'm not here to make accusations of secrecy against the governor, the administration at this point. But I will say, in an election year, it looks weird, especially when you have the trooper that pulled him over getting fired, who cried retaliation after that happened. You have the deal down in Southeast Iowa for the fee, or whatever it was, I don't remember, but
you're getting locked into details, aren't you?
Well, I am.
So the story is that right. Branstad has been in trouble, has been making a lot of news since the September of last year.
He hasn't even been in the state.
What?
He hasn't even been in the state the last couple of weeks. He's been on vacation.
Yeah, he has been. And the problem is back in I believe it was the end of September, beginning of October, he had two separate incidences. One, a trooper pulled him over for his vehicle going 84 miles an hour down the road.
Well, and the report was that it was going faster than that, even on a 65 headed towards Waterloo.
Yeah, and so he got pulled over, and then later the trooper who pulled him over got fired. And then it came out that he had also been clocked by another trooper going 90. As he pulled out and started to approach, the trooper realized it was the governor and went, "What do I do now? I mean, what do you do?"
Yeah.
Right? And so then they let him go. So this kind of started this ball rolling that he's appearing vulnerable. And then you add to that the Toledo thing coming up. I mean, he's had 3 bad scandals in a row.
Well, the thing is, this particular one it's weird to me, because it's kind of being softballed by the Register and by other news media as, well, these are people that were being let go, and it was and they're kind of buying the company line here that the governor said, hey, these people were let go because of budget restructuring and saving over $700,000, a whole bunch of money for the state to do it this way, and it wasn't for political reasons, so on and so forth. Well, if that's the case, then why even attempt, even if it was a mistake, to silence these folks from speaking out? I think the one who was a public health official had been tied to the Culver administration, and
so you actually think, well, now we'll get to that. Is Governor Branstad trying to squash this story, and is he trying to keep people quiet? We'll come back to that right after the break. Right now, we're just gonna talk about our newest sponsor, Brad Zahn for Congress. You can go visit his website. It's bradzahn.com. He will tell you about everything he stands for. Of course, he's a longtime political operative that has been a maverick and a Mustang, however you want to look at him, his entire career. He's always done well. He's always stuck by conservative principles. Basically, Steve Deace hasn't endorsed him, because generally Steve Deace doesn't endorse anybody. But he has come out and said, Brad Zahn's a very good conservative voice and will support conservatives everywhere. You can visit his website, bradzahn.com. And of course, he would like to have your vote. And if you wish to donate, you can go ahead and donate. We will be back right after this message from our other sponsors. Thank you for tuning in and watching Doc and Lefty on webcastonelive.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Get away from us, you mean old credit card. We don't have any more money. We're in trouble now. Save us! Help! Somebody save us! Somebody help! Help! Save us!
Hi, I'm Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of Des Moines. If your credit card's a little too animated, give us a call.
Hooray! We're saved! Consumer Credit! You're our hero!
If Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America was your personal webmaster, Tom would filter out all bad debt emails. If Tom was your mailman, you'd never get any debt reduction junk mail. If Tom Coates was a lineman, he'd block any phone calls offering to reduce your credit card debt.
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America, and we're still your best choice for credit counseling. We're local, we're accountable, and we can do more. You make the call when the time's right for you.
When it comes to competition, there really is none for Consumer Credit of America.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. This is Lefty with Doc and Lefty every Tuesday night from 6:30 to 7:30 on webcastonelive.com. Make sure to check us out on Facebook and Twitter. And the website, docandlefty.com, is up. Check out our sponsors. Brad Zahn for Congress is signing on for a little while during this election season, which is good to hear.
Yeah, that's always good.
Yeah,
you know?
and we know Brad really well. He's a super friend of the show, comes on a lot, and even though I disagree with him on almost everything, I got to say he's a good guy, and if you want to know where he stands, and his stance on the issues that are important to you, can check out his website.
Here's another thing. This is how good our social media girl is, Jen. She's not a girl; she's a woman. So she actually make you look good. I kid you not.
Oh my!
I'm sitting there looking at it right on Facebook. Of course, I still look old and fat. You can't help that, but
hey, well,
at least made you look good.
Hey, well, that you're,
yeah.
Well, but I was just gonna, I was gonna point out that your favorite photograph to look at is a mirror of yourself. So, I mean, if you are thinking that this looks pretty good, then that's high praise, indeed.
Absolutely. Now, before the break, Lefty is taking on. I believe Iowa's most popular governor.
Oh,
yeah.
Bob Ray is still pretty popular.
Bob Ray is enormously popular, but
Branson doesn't have any streets named after him. That's for sure.
Well, no, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. That's for sure. But he's very popular, and Lefty's going to take him on because apparently Lefty doesn't like the fact that he's balanced the budget, brought us back from the brink of bankruptcy, has narrowed the gap between what women earn and what men earn, and has created, thousands of jobs. Apparently, that's something that sticks in Lefty's craw, because right before the break, he was talking about, I think, and I'm paraphrasing, but Lefty, do you think he's trying to hush up this thing so it goes away? Or do you think this is a media spin trying to create a controversy?
But the thing is, the media, I feel like the media is soft pedaling it a little bit. They're sort of comparing it they're comparing it to to Bridgegate in New Jersey in a weird way, but saying it's not as serious. Now these folks could be. I mean, I'm not suggesting that the governor did anything illegal in the termination of these workers. They think he did for political reasons, but I'm not so certain that a political motive is necessarily illegal. Right? If you're going to fire somebody for a political motive who's under contract, I don't know that that's against the law necessarily.
So why do you think it's hitting the papers?
Well, because
because you think the liberal Des Moines Register smells blood and is going to go after
the Des Moines
him?
Register that endorsed Mitt Romney in the 2012 election?
Because he's about
that Des Moines
Register.
Well,
because there's not a lot of difference between I don't even get me started on Romney.
Anyway, I'm gonna call you out when you say something weird like that. But
they're liberals and they hate the governor.
But when the Des Moines Register is saying, hey, look, this is a governor who from the get-go has talked about his open and transparent administration, then we're seeing example after example of where he's maybe not as open and transparent as he wants people to believe. The thing is, the bridge scandal in New Jersey, that's something that we here in Iowa, we don't have traffic the way the coasts have traffic, right?
No, that's true.
It's not something that resonates with us. But firing somebody and then trying to cover up the reason for firing them when you have every right to know the reason for firing them as a citizen of the state, that kind of resonates with me a little bit. And it seems like such a dumb thing to even try and do when the clause wouldn't, if 5 minutes of the lawyer and he would have known the clauses weren't going to be enforceable.
Well, yeah, but this
but perception is reality.
But this problem isn't just Branstad's problem. This occurred before too, according to my understanding.
That's what the administration is saying. But we don't have any. But the register hasn't come up with any examples of prior.
Well, because they won't. I mean, they definitely have a slant on this. I don't think this is a political witch hunt. That's what this is. The governor's been staggered by two fairly major things. I mean, keep in mind, we had a U.S. senator get knocked out by Tom Harkin. And this is how it started. It started with a traffic ticket, right? And then it just kind of builds. So the bottom line is I think, the Des Moines Register is smelling some blood. They're going after Branstad. And I think it's one of these things where, you can't oversee every little thing that goes on. He's been made aware of it. He's made corrective action.
Well, he hasn't, though.
He did. He said,
he hasn't fired anybody.
Well, yeah.
He said if it happens again, it will. Number one. Number two, they're doing a working group. It's not even an independent investigation.
So hold on. So if he doesn't fire anybody, he's not doing anything. He simply said, well, if this isn't legal, then we're going to release the records. If it can't be held confidential and not enforceable, we're going to release these records. That's what he said.
But once again, I'm not suggesting, because we don't know enough. That's why I was saying this is still kind of new. I'm not suggesting that the governor's done anything illegal. I just have this sort of weird feeling about a guy who says that he's going to be open, honest, and transparent, who then is letting things like this kind of get by, not just once, but several times. And would we know about it if the Register hadn't done the investigation? I don't know that we would have.
Well, in the whole scheme of things, people getting canned, you get canned. 2, is it a cover-up? I don't think so. And 3, it appears to be an error by a mid-level lawyer. And
he's not a lawyer, though. The guy, no, he wasn't a lawyer.
Well, however they came up with these settlements, you had to have a lawyer do it. I mean, you can't enter these things in contracts without a lawyer, can you?
Well.
All right, well, then that's my point. So there had to be some lawyer there.
No. If you have a lawyer that says, look, I don't think this is going to fly, and the client says, leave it in, ultimate decisions for cases are made by lawyers, or are made by the clients, not the lawyer.
I get that, but the bottom line is there was a lawyer involved. Whether or not it's going to stand or anything else, it just didn't get piped up the line. And so now he goes, well, all right, this is what we're going to do. So we're up to another break time. We're going to be back right after this. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. You're listening to Doc and Lefty on WebcastOneLive.com. When we come back, we're going to start talking about how Lefty thinks the GOP wants World War III with Russia. And, of course, that's where he's going to really get pounded. Not like he hasn't been pounded enough by now, but I don't see him crying
I
yet.
certainly don't feel like I've been pounded.
Yeah, we'll be back right up. Well, then we can go another 10 minutes. We'll be back right at the break. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.
Hey, psst. Let me let you in on a little secret. You ready? Always try to do business with people, not places. Especially if you seek honest Christian business people. And when it comes to my car, I really need to trust who's working on it. Now, my family is so blessed. A few years ago, we found a family-owned automobile repair shop that operates as a Christian business also. Open, honest, reliable, trustworthy. It's AMCO on Hickman Road in front of Kmart. And it's a family-owned Christian operating business. This family treats your car as if it was their car. Everything from oil changes to transmission repair and everything in between. So the next time you feel the need to be at peace with your choice of who you can trust with your car, give AMCO on Hickman a chance to serve you. And tell them Max sent.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for listening to the show. We breezed through the first half hour, and while I'm not sitting here in judgment of or calling for the impeachment of Terry Branstad before he wins his inevitable reelection in November. I would.
Well, hold on. That's why Jack Hatch isn't coming on, dude.
I would be. Well, I think that. I think maybe let's just put it this way. I think that Jack Hatch would probably have a much easier road to victory if Terry Branstad got impeached.
Well, that is absolutely true.
I think the story is strange. I think it merits more discussion, and I think that
we'll definitely keep an eye on
that the governor and the lieutenant governor is sort of trying to dismiss it. Dismiss it as out of hand early on in the story. That does smack of New Jersey and Chris Christie, and we see what's happened to him over the last few months.
Yeah.
So
and you brought up a point